Good evening, race fans, and welcome back here to the CIL, the Collegiate iRacing League. For tonight, the first race of the Oval Premier Series, brand new to the spring 2022 season, and it should be a good one. Joining me up in the booth is Michael Koholich and Joshua Crane. And Josh, excited to be back up here for another Oval race with you.
Back at it, we're looking good and excited to go. These guys and girls are getting ready for the Premier Series debut here at Texas. It's a cool one. 65 in the air, 106, about a mid temperature on track there. You can see on your screen. Little bit of wind, 17, not too bad, but yeah, that's not going to compare to the 190, 195 that these guys are going to do down the back stretch and down the front stretch into that wide turn one that you see there just to the left of your graphic. So as these guys and girls get ready to roll off, they have been in Discord vocal and also in practices looking at tire wear predominantly. The feeling and the sentiment in the garage this week has been tight. It is tight on entry, it is tight in the middle, and it is tight off the corner. So actually after about 3 or 4 laps into the run, the drivers are going to have to manage their tires, be very patient. In the prospect race last night, no cautions, so it's going to be very interesting to understand how these drivers negotiate with each other. 100-lap race here this evening, and so drivers are going to have a lot of time to enact their strategy. The leading data, prominent data, says that it'll be pretty similar overall race timing between a 1 and a 2 stop strategy. Obviously, caution flags will throw a wrench in things, but all things considered equal, that is the case. And so, yes, sir, gentlemen up in the booth, it's looking to be a good debut here at Texas. It is bright and sunny.
You get a good look on your screen right there. Hagen Johnson, one of the Clemson drivers you'll see tonight in those bright orange cars, bringing it down pit lane. And kind of interesting, we've seen a couple of drivers practice these green flag pit entries. Not something we're normally used to seeing here in the CIL, but they saw the race last night. 0 yellow flag laps, so the drivers getting ready for if that happens here tonight. And I think we're going to see a long green flag run as you're looking at Thomas Toomey from the University of Virginia there on your screen, heading through the tri-oval. I wouldn't be surprised. Lengthy race here tonight, Josh, and I think that's going to play into the hands of these guys being patient over the course of the night.
Well, I think it certainly is. So we've had a lot of practice laps as drivers are getting in and being in Discord and sharing ideas and tips and experience. And yeah, I think we said it, tight tire wear. Draft as guys and girls are able to communicate and figure out just how they want to position their cars and position themselves towards the end of the race, where we saw drivers that would be very fast at the beginning of a run. It would push their car to its limit. Then they would be a little bit hung out, a little bit fallen back towards the middle and certainly towards the end of the run. And even drivers who had, let's say 5 or 10 lap fresher tires at the end, they had a distinct advantage. And so there's going to be a lot to learn. The notebooks are going to be open both to read from this evening and to add to, I suspect.
Yeah, so on your screen there, Santiago Perez from UNC Charlotte. UNC Charlotte, your university champion last season. But keep in mind, Austin Farr, not with us tonight, but last year's driver champion. So UNC Charlotte looking to take a good lead here. And Josh, take us through a lap on board with Santi as he heads around turns 3 and 4 here at Texas.
That's correct. Texas, not a super unique shape, but across the tri-oval, just trying to widen up that turn 1 as much as he can. He'll come in a little bit lower, and he's going to have those new, fresh tires here. So the white line's going to be the shortest way around this Texas Motor Speedway. A little bit loose off, and actually, I think he would have had scored his previous run, and he's going to take it behind the garage now, and we'll see if he goes for another attempt or if another driver takes over. But yeah, so he is. So Jarrett, we were already talking about the best way to do it is these guys are going to go and warm up on their outlap, and then they're going to try to make that first lap count as we follow along with Matthew Nordberg now, who is hopping on the backstretch.
So you see him on your screen there in the VR headset. A various amount of ways guys race. We've seen VR, we've seen single screen, we've seen triple screen, and it does add a unique ability, especially as guys try to cram a sim rig inside their dorm rooms. We've seen some unique setups here in the CIL, and Matthew Nordberg making use of that VR headset, that space-saving headset. And Josh, I think you can attest to how good that is in terms of seeing other cars around you, being able to turn your head and kind of see what's up. And Matthew Nordberg on provisional pole right now. We'll see if that lap gets challenged, but a good start there for Nordberg, Josh.
Awesome start there for Nordberg, leading the Wolf Pack, and has been since he began his time here in the CIL. And you saw his reaction as he crossed the line. Pretty thrilled with that, and perhaps a pre-race water break or something going forward now. And yeah, really solid run for the Wolf Pack. And I think Matthew Nordberg is going to be a name that we're going to call out a lot this season. Back on board now with Santiago Therese. Going through turns 1 and 2 now. So again, keeping it low and then drifting out right to that wall, making sure he's got the most direct path forward. And then back, you can see turn 3 on those fresh tires. He's able to get in a little bit quicker. Again, on that yellow line, and the NASCAR Cup cars here with that downforce. He's not even going to go to the wall. He's going to keep it right there and tight. And that's going to be his line across. And certainly a good run there for Therese, as right now Therese has taken the pole back for North Carolina at Charlotte, but guys, only by 0.08 of a second, so it is still anybody's qualifying and anybody's race this evening.
Yeah, and I think that's right there why he's one of the best. And you saw it, just pulled on out, laid the lap down, brings it on back in. So Santi Therese, pay attention to that name over the course of the night. Looking at Nick Stockner, another Clemson driver as well. Good run for him. Looking at top 10 here in qualifying. Stockner's kind of had a little bit of bad luck in some of his runs. We'll see if he can get a good run for the Clemson esports program here tonight. We'll see Stockner's on board at some point here tonight. Also on track right now is Ryan Fenty as he jumps up in the 6th spot. That's actually going to push Stockner back to 11th. A good run for Ryan Fenty. So qualifying just wrapping on up here. A few more minutes to go. But before we head to the race, we're going to share a special presentation by Carl Lemkuhl, one of our drivers here tonight, actually sitting 4th in qualifying right now. So Carl with a great qualifying run. And we're going to see Carl here in a moment on screen, and then we'll pop it on down to him and his car as he gets ready to go. So we'll be right back after this short little message from Carl Lemkuhl.
Legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi. The lake, it is said, never gives up for dead when the skies of November turn gloomy. With a load of iron ore, 26,000 tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald weighed empty. That good ship and true.
It's Carl Lemkuhl from St. Louis University joining us now. You just saw his cover right there on screen. Pretty cool what he's got going on there. And you see him getting ready in that full motion rig. And Carl, thanks for joining us here tonight. And I guess just tell us a little bit about what we just saw on screen. It's so cool to see here in the CIL the various talents that guys might have outside of driving fast on a track, which it looks like you're going to do here tonight. But yeah, tell us a little bit about what was going on there.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. Thanks for having me. This is another big passion of mine, music, and a big way I was able to do that during the pandemic was to record multiple tracks myself and then stitch them all together and release them as quarantine covers, if you will. And this is the 10th one, and it's helped me grow as a musician and as a music producer. And the goal is to start writing some original music next. So yeah, thanks for sharing it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's got us fired up for the race here tonight. What are your predictions here tonight at Texas?
Man, I was just talking about that with some of the guys. It's I think we could see a cautionless race, knock on wood, but I think it could be a really cool strategy battle. I think it's going to be really tight between the 1 and 2 stop. I was just doing some testing. But yeah, happy to have qualified well. Track position is going to be real important.
All right. Well, Carl, always great talking to you and always really cool to see what you got going on. So great job there and good luck here tonight.
Thank you very much, guys.
Alrighty, so that was Carl Lemcool popping on in and joining us there momentarily, and pretty cool what they have going on. And the third member joining us now, Michael Koholich, down on pit lane. Michael, we heard him just talk about that 1 and 2 strap strategy. What's the feeling down there on pit lane?
Yeah, so we saw last night in the Prospect Series, we saw 75 laps of green flag racing, which was a very good surprise. I'll put it that way. And so we see these guys in practice. They're practicing long stints on tires to see how the tires are wearing. They're practicing green flag pit stops, which previously, if viewers remember from season 3, that wasn't really happening that much. We had a lot of stops under caution. And after this race, in the Prospect Series, we have guys worrying about these things. And for those of you who don't know, the Prospect Series is a subdivision of the main series, the Premier Series. The Premier Series top 16 drivers of last season are locked in to the top 16 spots. And some drivers that may not have quite made the cut for the Premier Series are competing in the Prospect Series, which occurred last night. One difference would be in the Prospect Series, the races are a little bit shorter. Tonight we have 100 laps. Last night was 75 laps. And tonight there's no last chance qualifier for the Premier Series. They're just doing qualifying, and it's going to be the feature race. So that's, we lose a little bit of racing, but we also gain more with the more laps. There's only going to be one green-white checkered attempt. And after that, it would just be a yellow flag finish, I'd assume. And last night, Jarrett and Josh, that we were watching, it wasn't broadcast, but we were watching, and holy heck, they put together a great race.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal race and a lot of space given, and racing in groups. So this package, being able to bring these cars together and really allow drivers to think about what they want to do and place their moves, and when to conserve and when to use their equipment, both tires and car, and fuel. As we saw, it's not going to be fuel dependent race, but that is going to be something these guys want to pay attention to as they should they have a well placed caution, a yellow flag period. So, Michael, I think you're right on it. I think that that's pretty key for what these drivers are going to put in their strategy.
So cars all getting lined up on pit lane, and Josh, take us through the first 10 drivers here for this first round of CIL Premier at Texas.
Most certainly, and as these drivers get ready, this InnoVetted starting grid at Texas brought to you. Your pole setter is going to be Santiago Therese from UNC Charlotte. St. Clair College is going to roll off on the outside of your front row. That's going to be Robbie Vrabel Jr., not far behind, just 9 thousandths off of that pole qualifying time. And right behind UNC Charlotte in first place is going to be the same school, Jared Kaler in third place. Fourth place, Matthew Nordberg from North Carolina State. Colin Kolpa from Indiana in fifth place. Sixth place is going to be Carl Lemcool, the musician you just heard from St. Louis University, and Ryan Lusich from North Texas will fill out your seventh position. Eighth place going to be Ryan Fenty from St. Joseph's College and Athena Leclerc from St. Clair College as well. FIU and Christian Gomez are going to fill out your top 10.
And for the next 10 drivers, we got Andrew Williams from Clemson University starting in 11th. Esteban Munoz from FIU in 12th. Nicholas Stockner from Clemson University also in 13th. And Austin DeLong from Penn State College of Technology in 14th. Andrew McCall from Purdue, 15th. Josh Teagues from It Just Went Blurry in 16th. 17th, Sean Campbell from Randolph Community College. surprising to see him back there, but I'm sure he'll make up some places. 18th, Ryan Whitlock from Alabama Huntsville. 19th, Matthew Tucker from Jacksonville State. And 20th, Derek Jennings from Grand Canyon University.
Rolling off 21st here tonight is Jeremy Milnerin from Purdue. Bradley Daniels from Robert Morris University starts in 22nd. Hagen Johnson from Clemson University starts third. Pay attention to Hagen Johnson over the course of the race. We saw him do really well last night in the prospect race. Wouldn't be surprised if he has a little comeback race here in the Premier. Thomas Toomey from Virginia rolls off 24th. Starting 25th is Ricky Paz from Valparaiso. Tristan Yoder in the 09 machine rolls off 26th from Robert Morris University. Grant J. Lemcool from St. Louis University in 27th. Jeff Pete rolls off 28th. Alexander Gagnon in 29th. And Kenneth Halbert rounds out your field. He will start in 30th. It looks like we'll have Derek Jennings possibly join us in that 31st spot. Josh?
Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting to see these guys roll off. They are going to be really pacing themselves, I would dare say. I think this is going to be a long race. 100 laps, right? And we've seen lap times be just under 30 seconds. So they'll have a minute to figure out their position and understand how they want to position themselves for this race. So a lot of good paints represented there. You see Indiana stands out, University of North Texas, St. Clair College, a couple of entries up in the top 10, and then that bright blue Austin DeLong machine from Penn College of Technology. Pair of 49ers from North Carolina at Charlotte up front. And as we cruise through the final pace lap, turn one, I think that these drivers are going to have the decisions we talked about on their hands, and I think those are the storylines we'll see. So who can take care of their tires, who can be patient, and who can make friends throughout the race. Not a plate racing track, but they will want to make sure that there's no enemies. The last couple laps as they have to go and work together. We saw definitely last night in the Prospect Series getting around, making passes. It is a dance. Very rarely do you simply drive by your opponent at these 1.5-mile tracks, especially with that package. And Jared, as we get warmed up and get in turn 3, you can see looks like Jared Kaler is ready to go. Jared, you can bring us this first lap.
We're going to get a good look from the starter stand. As you can see, the field just making their way off of turn 4 here at Texas Motor Speedway. Crowd getting up on their virtual feet, and we're going to get set to go here at Texas. 29 cars set to take the green flag, and it is waving. And here comes Santi Perez, Robbie Vrabel Jr. to the top side. It looks like UNC Charlotte going to make a good run down there into turn 1. Vrabel stuck up on the high side. Josh?
And down into turn 1 they go. That wide turn 1 with room for all the players to set themselves up. You can see getting a little bit bunched up on the corner. These cars will be loose for a couple laps before we talk about how tight they are all night long. That is the trend on these new tires. As you can see, a little bit of checkup as you go into to turn 3 there. The pack working fourth, and it looks like your first lap will be UNC Charlotte to the line with everybody else in tow. A couple drivers trying to make moves. I see FIU down on the bottom and close there. Ryan Fenty trying to get beneath, but not before FIU snuck in. You see the 9 of Munoz and the 65 of Christian Gomez behind. Teammates working together on the St. Louis University machine. That's Carl Lemcool up on the side right now. Fenty now pulls out, as you can see, Clemson with a little bit of a block on St. Clair College. Going through turns 3 and 4, a little bit loose. We talked about it, the Joshua Tiggs machine, but it is well held, and he'll get through the tri-oval. Looks like his competition will be on the outside, as you just saw the University of Alabama at Huntsville trying to make that pass work. Back up to this position is going to be the 65. That is Christian Gomez. We talked about the head of FIU and Panther Motorsports for that program, doing driver coaching and sim setups week in, week out, trying to hold off his position. He's back up there with his teammate, trying to keep the Moose aficionado Ryan Fenty behind. Guys, we know Fenty is talented, and he wants to start his CIL season off right. So still getting by. It looks like some team orders there quite easily. The 65 slid by Munoz. Will he show the way around this corner? And Jarrett, I think we're off to a little bit of a race.
Yeah, and just like that, top 5 of single file, and they're trying to run away a little bit. You saw the draft play its role on that back straightaway. Santi Perez out to a little bit of a gap. But Robbie Variable Jr. holding strong. We haven't talked about Variable Jr. a lot, but a very good driver for that St. Clair College team. We'll also see Athena LeClaire over the course of the night. So really good team for that St. Clair College, and good to see them up front. But Josh, you mentioned the racing. It's getting racy. You see Ryan Fenty dive out there again, looking at the bottom of the number 9 of Esteban Munoz, and Munoz will close the door for that Panther Esports team. We're through 5 laps out of 100 scheduled here tonight. Josh?
Yes, Munoz trying to make moves, and you can see in this top 10, it's a little bit tough. So as we get to develop, yeah, it is single file, but you got to have one eye out your windshield and one in the mirror the whole time and checking, am I loose? Am I giving up a position? We did see that Indiana tried to get underneath there and make a pass, and going to try and complete that now. But like we said, as these tires, we go to lap 6, coming up on lap 7 as we cross the line, it is going to be a trend of understeer for our road folk, and also just tightness as we get into this corner here. So you're going to want to defend from that midline or even that high line we saw a little bit. You're riding on board now with St. Clair College's Athena LeClaire in that Toyota Camry. But again, trying to conserve. We know the has another St. Clair College teammate up front right now, but again, it's going to be negotiating your equipment and traffic as Clemson, a little bit of a roadblock there. You see Randolph College Sean Campbell behind 2 Clemson machines. Look like the 5 of Nicholas Stockner will give way, and then the 23 machine there is going to show the way for now. But that again, that Rise Esports Ford Mustang is driven by Sean Campbell, and you can bet that he is going to be ready to get around these drivers. He was able to pull off the win in the series last night. As you can see, a great shot of University of Alabama at Huntsville diving down to the inside, but it was all for looks, getting under the 28 machine there of Josh Teagues. Still a little bit loose, Josh Teagues. I wonder if he's trying to different methods to get off that corner there. You can see Robert Morris University trying to slide underneath. Purdue with nowhere to go. And Thomas Toomey's Virginia. In fact, Thomas Toomey, they do touch, but held by Josh Teagues. And a bit of a move from 66. Toomey there. Everybody escaped, but no love lost between the two drivers. A very good save by Joshua Teagues on your screen.
Yeah, what a save that was. When we talk about caution-free race, sometimes you need something like that to happen. Josh Teagues, a very good save. Actually, our in-race reporter, so we'll have to ask him about that touch with Toomey. He goes up into the wall, heading into turn 1. Teagues maybe a little bit frustrated after that touch, and he's going to be starting to get shuffled on back. Had qualified well. He's dropped to 22nd now, and he's under attack from Ricky Paz right behind. Paz dives down to the bottom. He's going to get right in the toe of Jeremy Milner and that Purdue machine right in front of him as they both head toward the bottom lane. Last night in the Prospect Series, we saw the bottom lane kind of struggle later in run. So it'll be interesting to see if guys maybe jump up a lane or two and how they negotiate these worn tires. 11 laps of 100 complete as we look back at your top 3. Santi Perez in first, Robbie Vrabel Jr. in second, Matthew Nordberg third, but Jared Kaler has dropped back to 5th, maybe conserving a little bit. Michael, have you heard anything on pit lane in terms of the UNC Charlotte strategy?
I have not. However, something interesting that's happening here is Christian Gomez, big gainer from those opening laps, these 12 opening laps, 10th to 4th. He's the fastest mover so far, and it's really going to be interesting with these long green flag sessions. It is how that battle from 10th to 4th, how that affected his front tires especially, and if we're going to see some later in the stint, some tire wear from him, he might have to come in a little bit earlier. But also a little bit disappointing to see Jared Kaler fall back there. He probably is thinking more conservative on the tires.
And that's a good point with the University of North Carolina at Charlotte bringing in 2 entrants to this event. Perhaps one is to be aggressive up front, and one will conserve tires in the hopes that one driver will be taking home scoring points for that school as we go 2 wide, a couple of rows back. Indiana and St. Louis University leading the charge. It'll be St. Louis University and Carl Lemkool this lap, but down into turn 1, these drivers are going to have to figure out. You can see Lemkool trying to make use of that high line. Is he up too high? Yeah, I'm not sure about that one, guys, as he's going to try and attempt to come back, but can he do it? They'll swap positions now. Do you want to be on the bottom right here, Jarrett?
I tell you what, the bottom's kind of that quote-unquote safe place to be if there is a wreck, but it's hard to get that run off the corner with somebody on the top side. And you see it right there, Kolpa all the way around, and here comes DeLong as well. It looks like that second groove really starting to come in here in this race, but DeLong way up the hill. He's a groove or two too high there as Sean Campbell thinks about sticking a nose in and making it 3 wide. Josh?
Sean Campbell is keeping everybody on their toes as he decides what he's going to do. He chooses the outside lane, and this group of 3 continues to battle as this pack behind catches up. Riding now on board with the Clemson machine, who probably has the best seat to this battle. Crossing over 16 laps under our belts now here at Texas Motor Speedway, but you can see the closing speed right in there. And in fact, maybe a little bit warm now up high up the track, and we'll have a good bit of draft as that Clemson esports machine tries to look and take advantage of everything going on. Though, Michael, they are a little bit spread out right now, maybe trying to reevaluate.
Oh, well, right as you say that, the 55 into the outside wall hard. We got a caution, guys.
So that's a 55 of Kenneth Talbot you see on your screen. Tough break for the University of Alabama at Huntsville. We'll take a quick peek at what just transpired. Our first yellow of the night here tonight. So as we look at this yellow you saw there on your screen, a couple of drivers getting involved. It looked like kind of a chain reaction. And the 55 kind of getting the worst of it. Yeah, Grant Lemkool really sticks a nose in there. Jeff Pete maybe didn't see him coming. And then the 55, Kenneth Talbot, just an unfortunate beneficiary here tonight as he gets sent up into that outside retaining wall. And I'll be curious to see what guys head down pit lane. Looks like a couple leaders coming down to you, Michael.
It's interesting to see some leaders coming in this early. However, Matthew Nordberg is in, so maybe we'll see some other guys follow them. Maybe we're just going to see a couple guys and then some other guys stretch these tires long. It hasn't been that long, but we've seen tire wear make a big difference in time. And under caution, it's not that much of a penalty. So once he gets those tires on, we'll see who wins this race off the pit lane. Most likely Matt Nordberg. And also the... What number is that? I can't see it.
That's a 12 of Ryan Lusich.
12 car of Ryan Lusich has a good stop there.
Yeah, so it looks like down pit lane we had Matthew Nordberg, Ryan Lusich, Ryan Fenty, Carl Lemkool, and then Kenneth Talbot and Hagen Johnson both involved in that previous wreck, getting that car fixed on up. Reminder that they do get one fast repair over the course of the night, so unfortunately Talbot going to have to use it here early in case there's any late race incidents. He will not have that in his back pocket. But I tell you what, the way that first 17 laps went, he might be in a good spot there. Josh?
Yes, sir. That is correct, as you say. And so these guys will now have an opportunity to get back and restacked a little bit. With just under 20 laps under our belts, that'll give a little bit of an indication to how they choose to use their tire sets and what they learn racing around, and also how these cars handle in dirty air. I think that we see a lot more dirty air this evening than previously, especially last night.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how these guys navigate this next restart. You've had a restart under your belt. We've had some green flag laps. So our guys may be a little bit more jumpy, knowing that it is somewhat difficult to pass, and you get stuck in that seemingly DRS train, so to speak, to steal that from Formula One. But yeah, guys getting stuck just behind, and we saw blocks on the back straightaway. It'll be interesting to see if we see more of that in the coming laps. But like you said, lap 20 out of 100. So still a ways to go here at Texas Motor Speedway, but a couple different strategies playing out. Nordberg I think most notably down pit lane here early, so maybe electing to go for that 2-stop strategy. They do get 3 additional sets of tires and no penalty for using them all, so why not use them, especially if you're those guys. But I tell you what, Josh, it's a risky move you make going to the back of this 30-car field this early. We'll see if it pans out for him.
Yeah, it could be tricky, but I guarantee you the goal there is not to drive back through. We were just talking about what happened to Gomez, Christian Gomez from FIU, as he made his way up. Actually, and we're about to go green here. We will touch that tire subject later as we come up to the green flag. Drivers away, UNC Charlotte. Good start. In fact, maybe a bit of a slow start on the outside for Robbie Vrabel Jr., that St. Clair College car. But as we get in the turn, I dare say quickly finding our way single file, pretty well agreed upon. You can see Randolph College trying to make a move on the outside. As there you see Robert Morris actually trying to hang tough, but not going to do it, giving way to Purdue, the 0-1-8. Actually, Purdue making a Robert Morris sandwich there. As you see the 1-6-9 of Jeremy Miller in behind, but trying to defend and hold off Ricky Paz from Valparaiso University.
Trouble on the front straightaway.
Yeah, did my radio sound bad?
Guys,
And
it
that
looks
is-
like the cars that had taken new tires were jockeying for position there, and it got a little dicey with some of the cars in the back that had worn tires.
Let's take another look at it on the front straightaway here. Paying attention, that number 12 North Texas machine gets into the 26. That's Ryan Fenty. Sends Fenty around into that outside retaining wall. Also involved is Jeff Pete in that 119. I believe we see the 09 of Tristan Yoder involved as well. Grant J. Lemkool unable to avoid it as well. So big wreck here just after that. When we talked about the restart, just how difficult it could be. One more look at it right there. And yeah, just tough break. The 12 getting into the 26. Sends them on around in a pack like that. Very hard to avoid for a couple of these other drivers. So Michael, as we saw on that restart, things can get hairy fast, and it's going to be interesting to see if we see a little more of the same. We talked about this a lot last year, is that idea of yellows breeding yellows, because now guys want to use this restart to their advantage, and I can't say I blame them, because you want to get those positions pretty easily, but sometimes that patience goes a long way. So we'll see how this plays itself out here.
It's interesting to see, and a little bit lucky for the guys that did just take tires. We'll see how many go down as we see one car. Is that Grant Lemkool coming off of pit lane? I think he was caught up in that, wasn't he?
He was.
And also the 28 car of Joshua Teague's also caught up in that. So looks like we're not seeing any other guys that opted not to get tires. But you did say cautions breed cautions, as we see Sean Campbell going for tires. That's a new one. Okay. So now the guys that did just get tires, they got bailed out a little bit, a couple extra spots. These other guys getting new tires, maybe we'll see another caution. And I would be really worried if I was one of the guys that are on lap 23 tires and you're still out there, because these guys are going to be moving through the pack and fast.
Yeah, no doubt about that, Josh.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we will have the opportunity here to get another 20 lap or so or longer green flag run as we get set, and drivers remember that they have long-term goals in mind for this 100 lap race. And so certainly I think like trying to guess the right time to pit in any oval track event or even open wheel event. That will be something that these drivers have to negotiate. So, Michael, in conclusion, I don't want to be out there either, because we've had enough short runs. I suspect the long run would be around the corner. Even if we do have another flag or two, I'd like my new tires, please.
Yeah, Josh, I could not agree more. You got them, you might as well use them, and especially if you're thinking about breaking this race into thirds or even quarters with those 3 additional sets of tires. So in essence, you have 4 sets of tires, 25 laps a set. This would have been kind of the perfect moment to bring it down pit lane. But as we've seen, track position comes at a premium. So we'll see how this pans itself out on this next restart. Field getting set to go. 2x2 down the back straightaway. Going to be led by the UNC Charlotte team, who we've seen be dominant all last season and no stranger to the front of the pack. But right behind them, a couple of good stories. Esteban Munoz from FIU and Robbie Frable Jr. continuing to hang on. And don't look now, but a couple more names you maybe not so familiar with. Colin Kolpa from Indiana and Austin DeLong from the Penn College of Technology, making up the rest of the top 6. Josh, take us to the green flag.
As we roll up here, it's going to be more of the same. It looks like your front row, UNC Charlotte, Esteban Munoz, actually followed by his FIU teammate in Christian Gomez, and you mentioned Colin Copa, 4th inside row. That 22 car, Austin DeLong on the outside. He'll have a chance to get in line. You can see a little bit of a work. We saw this last season from the 49ers. They know how to get in line and take off. They've got it set up. You're looking now at Alabama at Huntsville. Back a little bit ways, we saw the 19 earlier. Ricky Paz trying to make a move around Purdue. Can he get it done? Do they have the tires? He's got a little bit of a run into the corner. And going 3 wide, Carl Lemkool. Going to be a 3 wide call for Jeremy Millerin. Matthew Nordberg coming down a little bit, and good job by Purdue just to stay there in the middle of the track. Matthew Nordberg not taking a break. He wants more on the outside around Alabama at Huntsville through the tri-oval. Not where I want to be, 3 wide. They're trying to make it 4 wide, but they'll figure it out. Turn 1 will give them a little bit more room. 4 wide for a time. Alabama at Huntsville actually diving back down to the inside, and a good move there. He'll get a run off the corner. He'll carry that momentum. He's got a little bit of draft from St. Louis University. You can see he wants to be tucked right up underneath, and the super late model driver in real life shows a little bit of grit to get several spots. Coming to the line now, awesome move. That is Ryan Whitlock, a good set of sequences from him going through, and you can see that charge was led by which you see there, 095, Carl Lemkool from St. Louis University. And those guys, couple drivers, making some real moves early on.
Almost looking like a plate race here in the first couple laps of new tires as we look back at Sean Campbell leading the charge. Thomas Toomey from the University of Virginia right behind him. Campbell on those fresh tires trying to make his way past Andrew McCall, that Purdue machine you see in front of him. But yeah, guys really stacked on up back here. Toomey got the St. Louis machine. That's Grant Lemkool on his tail. Tristan Yoder mixing it up a little bit as well. A little bit loose for the Robert Morris University car coming off. We mentioned it. You're going to be loose in those first couple of laps, and it's tough because you feel like you lose a lot of speed, a lot of momentum when that back end gets out on you. But the guys making it work here. They're going to go 2 wide through the tri-oval.
Through the tri-oval, a little bit of evasive room by Robert Morris. Is that the 24 as we go through? No, that was Tristan Yoder there. This is 09, Robert Morris University. And actually, that Grand Canyon machine, Derek Jennings, trying to make his way up through the field. As we go again, we're going to try 3 wide and onto the apron. Not recommended. Back up onto the apron. Evasive action taken. Yeah, Ricky Paz not thrilled with that move. Athena Leclerc now trying to stay low and out of everybody's way. I don't think that she intended to be on the apron. Still going through the grass there, guys. Once you're down like that, it is hard to get back up to pace. But the skill of these drivers showing, able to get around, as you guys can see, and a little bit difficult to navigate, but everybody's GPS guiding them properly as we have a couple tandem drafters going down the backstretch.
Tough break for Leclerc right there. Go ahead, Michael.
Matthew Nordberg is absolutely making up so many places right now. He is gobbling cars up. I think he overtook 4 cars in one corner, up to 9th place from 13th last lap. These new tires are paying off and a half for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And he decided he wanted a little bit more going down to the inside. He was following the 95 machine, and he said, no more. I would like to be the leader now. And, guys, I think he's earned it, moving his way up along the front stretch. He'll take lead, and Carl Lemkool says, GG's, we will save in the draft for now. A little bit racing behind, Jarrett.
That's Andrew Williams down the low side for the Clemson Esports team. Ryan Whitlock trying to tuck on in, but here comes Sean Campbell. Don't forget about him. Really good on the road side, trying to make his mark on the oval side as well. He's got help from his other road companion, Thomas Toomey. Those top two road series drivers making it their presence felt here on the oval side as they're trying to sneak their way up into the top 10. But I tell you who's looking on, Derek Jennings in that 15 machine for Grand Canyon University, looking very strong. Maybe a little bit of wrinkle on that front left quarter panel. We'll see if that affects the aero a little bit. Very aero-dependent track here is Texas, as you see down the back straightaway, all these cars sucking up. Campbell's up to the top side, throws a little bit of a block, trying to arc that turn 4, and they'll try to sort things on out heading off of turn 4. Heading back up to your leader, Santi Perez in a calm first place, Jared Kaler in second, Esteban Munoz in third, Christian Gomez all the way up to fourth, and Robbie Variable Jr. has fallen off a little bit to round out your top 5. Josh?
Yes, sir, and I think it may be good to note here is Robbie Vrabel looking for a place to put a move there for another position in P4. But up at the front, you mentioned it, it is North Carolina at Charlotte, followed by FIU, a story that we've seen as trouble for Austin DeLong. He'll keep it straight, and we will stay green for now, but Austin DeLong, and I saw Matt Norberg, we would have to look at that, but yeah, big trouble there for those drivers. As we see the replay, looks like we're coming up off the corner. Couldn't tell from that angle if the 22 had some help, but as soon as you start to save and lift, yeah, I'd assume right there, 76, he did have some help, and that'll put the 76 under the microscope here for a couple laps, but very good save from Austin DeLong and Penn College of Technology.
Michael, you mentioned it. These new tires just ridiculously differing in speed. Here's Matthew Norbert all the way up to 8th now. And maybe Austin DeLong just didn't really account for that giant speed difference you'd see in those tires. Michael?
Yeah, that was a little bit of a racing incident there. Austin DeLong on way older tires than Matthew Norberg, and the speed difference definitely off the exit of that corner was just not quite calculatable for both drivers, but kind of no harm, no foul. Austin DeLong kind of lost a lot of positions from that. But if I am Santiago Perez and Jared Kaler, I'm sweating bullets because Matthew Norberg is catching at almost or more than half a second a lap right now, guys.
That Wolfpack machine is on the hunt, and he is going to look underneath Indiana, trying to get into turn 1. And I think you guys mentioned it, tires. He's figured out the tires, guys, and he's going to follow FIU. He's underneath Alabama at Huntsville right now, and down the backstretch he will have a run. Yeah, put him in a little bit of a box. That is the smart play there. Matthew Nordberg, really no stranger not only to the raw speed as you saw in qualifying, but to the racecraft of these Cup Cars oval racing. We mentioned it is a dance, and no matter his partner, generally very talented is Matthew Nordberg. And again, we mentioned virtual reality. All he's got to do is look to the left, look to the right. There's no excuse. He wasn't on my screen, or I didn't see him, or I didn't get the call. Matthew Nordberg going to be aware, and he's going to have a 2-for-1 underneath. Not a great run off the corner, but neck and neck with Christian Gomez. A little bit of a push from the Alabama at Huntsville car, who now opts to follow through. And so these drivers are going to be working together, if a marriage by convenience, just to get through and follow that Wolfpack machine. Everybody wants to know, what is that driver doing?
You know what? Another huge gainer from the start of this race. Kenneth Talbot with the tire strategy started 30th, and he's up to 7th. Jarrett?
Yeah, big gainer. You mentioned it, and I think we're seeing these tires pay off. Kenneth Talbot, another driver who pitted on lap 17, so we'll be sure to pay attention to that throughout the course of the race, but guys are mentioning it over the radio. Maybe it's going to swing back around when everyone else pits, and it'll be curious to see if we get a yellow when that happens and what the pit strategy is. I imagine guys who haven't pitted will see down pit lane, but if you're these guys who pitted on lap 17, lap 25, maybe think about staying out, or at least consider it, thinking another yellow's coming, maybe take the track position for a little while. So going to be very interesting. Only two yellows here tonight so far through 42 of 100 laps. Josh?
And that's what we had said. When do you want to take those tires? So Matthew Nordberg, right? And in fact, Kenneth Talbot, as you mentioned, Michael from the University of Alabama at Huntsville, have chosen correctly to take tires when they did that last yellow, moving up through the field with newer tires than their competitors. And certainly when the next opportunity arises, they'll change their tires out, and voila, they've used that tire strategy to make up those places. So that's how that strategy can come to fruition as you ride on board now with Wolfpack. Matthew Nordberg, he's going to take his time and understand just what he can do. These two drivers, Robbie Vrabel Jr. on the inside of your screen, and on the outside, in fact, Esteban Munoz, big check up there, and maybe some net code that we see on screen are going to be tricky for those drivers. You can see Robbie Vrabel saying, yeah, that was probably a little bit close for us. But again, the skill these drivers keep in these cars in check. As these guys continue down the backstretch, they can see that they're sharing information on tires and teamwork and trying to make sure they're not holding each other up. And so that's something that they have to keep in mind. And maybe it is an opportunity to be able to follow your competitor through, draft for a little bit. Could wear your tires out a little bit, but if you're picking up pace, you're picking up pace. So that's what these drivers are trying to figure out and discuss. And really, how can they catch guys? The leaders up front, it's still University of North Carolina at Charlotte showing the way.
You know what? I was just hyping up the new tires, and it actually looks like more or less the times have stalled a little bit. Last lap, Matthew Nordberg with a 31.6, Santiago Tires with a 31.5. So it might have still paid off because they got that track position. They're at the very front, the tippity top, and it paid off.
It did absolutely pay off, and really smart play by those crew chiefs, as we know that teams beginning to have more involvement, just not from drivers, from engineers and crew chiefs, and a little bit of race strategy, everyone involved. You can see there, that is the 30 machine of Randolph College and Sean Campbell trying to pursue this pack. You can see Esteban Munoz in the 9 car, FIU, followed by Virginia getting down in there, and then you can see that one on pit road, that is the 22 machine. Penn College of Technology, Austin DeLong brings his Chevrolet down pit road for service.
Down here for service, it looks like it. Jarrett, I think you have the data on this, but is this Austin DeLong's first stop?
This is, Michael. This is going to be his first stop, so I would imagine we see a couple more drivers here in the coming laps.
So now we're seeing where staying on those really old tires just became absolutely not worth it for some of these drivers.
Yeah, and that would be the case, and that is what we have said, is how do they want to break up their green flag tire strategy? All these drivers trying to look at times, trying to figure out what they can do to make that second monitor pan out, and that's going to be one of the big key factors that are going to help these drivers either win this race and may end in tragedy for some, as it looks like not quite bringing out the yellow, but very difficult pit entry for the 9 machine FIU. That's Esteban Munoz locking up all 4 tires with a little bit of a power slide down onto pit road, but for full service back on the track. You can see the Wolfpack continuing his progress forward. That's Matt Nordberg in the 76 machine.
I tell you what, guys, are we a little surprised we didn't see both FIU cars on pit lane at the same time?
Slightly. We know they communicate during the race, so maybe we'll see one of them split the strategy, or maybe we'll see just both cars go in. Oh yeah, we just saw one of them go in, didn't we?
We did. We did just see one go in, and it could have been. It was Munoz in the 9 machine because he may have had a little bit of an altercation there on track and decided it was time to use that fast repair. But I'll tell you what, guys, we're squarely within pit sequences, and Michael, you'll have to keep up down there. Indiana on, Purdue on. In fact, both Purdue machines on pit road as we speak.
Both Purdue machines on. Now we see where that communication pays off. Maybe they're just going to work together, maybe a little bit of bump drafting, get each other back up the pack, because this is losing them so much time having to do this under the green flag. They're losing a whole lap. The guys that hit it under the caution, got new tires basically for free, are just running away now.
There was, and I did see another car sideways on pit entry, but looked like was slowed down. You can see Christian Gomez on your screen. Looks like he'll also grab that fast repair, maybe add a new hood to that Ford Mustang. Back up at the front, you are looking at the 18 machine of Santiago Tires, the miners trying to keep this out, and I assume that their strategy would be, as we've almost seen a couple times, wait for a caution to come out during this pit sequence as cars have to rejoin on the backstretch. Just about every time that our camera has taken us to that turn 2 exit, we see cars trying to understand and negotiate how to get around there. So now we talk about new tires. There is your Wolfpack machine on the older tires compared to some of those other drivers, as Ryan Whitlock and Alabama Huntsville brings their car down for full service.
I tell you what, guys, something to keep in mind as well is just situational awareness. You know green flag pit stops are underway. If you see a car hard charging, maybe don't fight him because he's on those fresh, brand new Goodyear Eagles, and we see the speed difference, and guys are able to sneak up on each other. So ever more important to check your mirrors, be aware of what's going on, and if you're the passing car, maybe wait. I know it's tough. You want to sneak by as fast as you can, but doing it wisely. As you see, here comes Robbie Vrabel Jr., the first of our top 6 heading to pit lane, and on the pit lane hard, sneaking the back end around. We'll see if that's a speeding penalty for Robbie.
I was going to say, he might still be getting that car slowed down to pit road speed limit, but you can see in your shot the 18 car and then followed by FIU. Do believe that the FIU machine would be on new tires as the running order is shown. Therese, Kaler, and Nordberg. Actually, Sean Campbell from Randolph rounding out your 4th position, and then Kenneth Talbot going to be your 55 car in 5th position. Michael?
Looks like Robbie Vrabel, he came into the timing line for the pit lane at 84 kilometers an hour. Sorry, this is an American stream. I'm sorry. The pit speed limit for NASCAR is 72. iRacing has a little bit of leeway. Luckily, this isn't the NASCAR pit lane where you have to be at exactly that speed, not a 0.1 kilometer over or mile per hour over. Luckily, this is iRacing, so I think he'll be okay.
Michael, Jared Kaler's on pit road coming to you.
Jared Kaler on pit road. Another one of those cars that did not opt to take tires during the caution. And now this just leaves us to wonder, when is Therese going to come in? Because he's been out there for how many laps? He's been out there for all 57 laps. And he is now going to make the turn into pit entry. And he overcooked it. He is backwards, guys.
Backwards indeed, as the viewers see on their screen, and he'll take about 5 or 6 seconds to get that car turned around. May or may not be a speeding penalty. As you can see, going to have a long time in that first timing loop there for the miners. So we will have to see in a couple laps. This will all shake out, and we'll see who is the leader after the pit cycles. You can see Jared Kaler in the radio. They'll be talking about that in Discord. Does that affect their strategy? I assume that it'll be a one-stop strategy for the UNC Charlotte cars, but I'll tell you who is still out there, not on his first set of tires, but still out there on kind of some aged tires, guys, is Matthew Nordberg. Is he trying to go as deep as he can on these tires and then have fresh tires towards the end? But right now, I think if you just take the average, we know he's got to make another pit stop. If you take the average of these laps and his new laps, I think Matthew Nordberg has to be thinking about new tires.
Yeah, Josh, he's got to be. He pitted on lap 17, so I think the furthest he can stretch it is about 15 or so laps from now. So maybe lap 75 is the furthest he could go on fuel alone. And You mentioned the pace that the tires bring you as well. But this is the battle for the lead you're looking at right now. Matthew Norberg, Sean Campbell pitted within 5 laps of each other on laps 17 and 22. So all the drivers that make up the top 5 are actually drivers that pitted lap 22 or prior. So good little battle going on here in terms of strategy as we get a look backward from the 76 machine on that Sean Campbell machine for second.
Few things more concerning in the sim racing world than seeing that view and Sean Campbell in your rear view mirror as he tries to look low. Will it be a move down the backstretch side by side? Randolph University to the inside as Robert Morris and Huntsville look on, and the Wolfpack, I think, will concede the position. Guys, it was not a time to fight with so many laps left, about 40 laps to go, depending on how you round. So that will be your new leader, the 30 machine. Sean Campbell takes Randolph College to the point.
Yep, Josh, whenever you see Sean Campbell in your rearview mirror, a little known fact about iRacing is that just for him, they've included Boss music with his car audio, so you can hear his car and also Boss music, so you know you're being overtaken. And a little bit of an update for Santiago Tires. The pit speed limit is 45 miles per hour, and he hit the timing cone at 75, so a little bit of insult to injury for that spin, guys.
That is difficult, and as we talk about pit road, we said it, North Carolina and Virginia are both on pit road, and so these drivers will come down for full service, and I assume they intend to make it to the end, barring any yellow flags, guys. So that will be the strategy. We'll see where they shuffle out once the pit cycles are through, and I'm going to need some data to tell me if Sean Campbell is due up for a pit stop shortly. In fact, maybe Kenneth Talbot is in the same boat if they are having a pit stop coming up.
Josh, if I had to guess, we're going to see Sean Campbell here in the next 5 to 10 laps. There he is over the radio, maybe thinking about pit lane here. But you saw it, and it surprised me a little bit to see Norberg on pit lane as soon as we did. I expect him to stay out just a little bit longer. He had that gap, and here comes Campbell now. Everybody needing those fresh Goodyear Eagles here at Texas. The track is hot, and these green flag pit stops are hotter. Michael?
Guys, this really hurt some of the cars that got tires or opted not to early on. Most of our field is now down a lap from our leader, Kenneth Talbot, and that's going to include Sean Campbell as well. As we see more of these green flag pit stops, it hurts, but you got to get tires.
Well, you do need tires, and you can see Kenneth Talbot and the University of Alabama at Huntsville down to pit road as we're going to hop on here with Hagen Johnson coming out of turn 4, leading a nice little pack, and he has some clean air to make way going forward. The scoring loop still timing out, but you can see Hagen right now scored your leader with current pit stops, though FIU is going to do their best to defend. That's Athena Leclerc on the inside. And off of turn 4, actually, we're going to go back to the front stretch now. And it is going to be Athena Leclerc to the point if she can hang on to the backstretch. Diving down to the inside. Looks like it's going to be maybe a pit this time, perhaps. Quite down around the apron. Yeah, I think that car getting slowed down. And probably a better move there. An alternate pit exit, but much safer to do that than we have seen from those guys. But back up at the front, guys, it's Hagen Johnson just hanging out from Clemson University.
So Hagen, the last driver who's pitted on that kind of first pit stop strategy. He pitted back on lap 17, our first yellow flag of the night. And you said it. He's hanging out. He's making it last as long as he can. You see the gap 10 seconds on the left side of your screen back to Robbie Vrabel Jr., who should inherit the lead after this. That's going to put Jared Kaler second, Christian Gomez third, and Matthew Norberg holding on to fourth. Good run for Nordberg right now. It looks like that strategy, we thought it might doom him, but it's paying off right here. Maybe that's why I'm up in the booth and not on a pit box, Josh.
Well, it did cycle back around, and you mentioned it, Hagen Johnson. If I'll tell you what, if I was in this crop of drivers and I was leading the way, I wouldn't come into the car, ran out of fuel. I'm sure he's having a great time. And Clemson University, well represented, always well represented, but right now hanging out at the point. Johnson raced his way in from the Prospect Series last night, and look where he is, showing the way here. So you can see the times on your ticker. Eventually, that may come to an end as Vrabel, Kaler, and Gomez come in, and you can see, guys, those old tires as Grand Canyon University scoots by. Those tires are limited, but awesome run right now for Hagen Johnson. Strategy, putting them in position.
The number 2 driver, Robbie Vrabel Jr., you can see that interval going down further and further. On the left side of the screen, you see he's got Grant J. Lemcool up in front of him for the St. Clair College team. Good run for Robbie Vrabel Jr. here tonight. He is the number 1 alumni as well. So you see those red windshield banners and spoilers. That's signifying an alumni to the university. And those green windshield banners and spoilers are active students at their university or place of education. Josh, Hagen Johnson down pit lane. Heading to you, Michael.
The last of our long runners, Hagen Johnson, into the pits. So that means, Jarrett, you have the data on your screen. I think that's it for the little bit of a shakeup under the green flag pitting. We got Robbie Vrabel Jr. inheriting the lead, Jared Kaler, Christian Gomez, and Matthew Nordberg. And it looks like that green flag stop for Sean Campbell didn't really hurt much because we just stayed green. So it's leveled out now, guys.
It has leveled out, and Matthew Nordberg. So I'm gonna know. We'll have the tire graphic up here momentarily, but I think that Matthew Nordberg and the Wolfpack have maybe 5-lap newer tires or so, based on Kaler's pit, Vrabel's pit. I want to say that Vrabel was one of the first to come down pit road, if not the first. So again, we're gonna get we got 72 laps in the books right now, and we're gonna get down to maybe 10 to go. And that's when the Wolfpack is going to have those 5-lap fresher tires. And will that make a difference? Remember, the Wolfpack and Nordberg staying out, waiting, I think, until the last 5 or so drivers to come down pit road and get those fresh tires. So a little bit of strategy, and maybe the strategy's not yet done, Michael, for these drivers who are working on their tires.
The strategy may or may not be done. We have just under 30 laps, and we've seen plenty of other drivers do 30 laps on one set of tires, especially Tires, who went 50-something laps on his. So we might see more strategy play out. We might not, especially for these leaders who took those green flag stops. And I just got to point out, Thomas Toomey and Kenneth Talbot, it worked out for them in the end. Talbot coming from 30th up to 6th. Thomas Toomey from 24th to 7th just recently got tires. I think they're set to the end.
Yeah, most certainly. And I'll tell you what, that Kenneth Talbot has squarely etched his name, all things equal. Should we finish like this, etched his name on the most spots gained award. Michael, can't say it enough, from 30th up to P6 right now. So on your screen from the University of Alabama at Huntsville Charger Motorsports, that is Kenneth Talbot.
Further on back, Ricky Paz sneaks by Tristan Yoder in the 09 Robert Morris University machine. So good battles going on. You see Derek Jennings as well. So we got 3 cars under a little bit of a blanket here, and Jennings on those fresher tires going to squeeze right on by Yoder. This is the battle for 14th now up there for Paz, and Jennings trying to chase him down. 25 laps to go. 2 yellow flags here tonight. Will we stay green the rest of the way? Guys, Michael, let's investigate our race trends. What do you got for us there down on pit lane?
Well, the race trends here, we thought that the early pit stop would be the move, and it kind of was for some guys, especially Matt Nordberg made a ton of track position with those early pit stops and then moving back up the field after taking the pit stop under caution. And as we saw some guys come in for tires under this green flag run, some guys benefited from just staying out, some didn't. That's all I got, guys.
Yes, and I think as we go through here, you can see through the field your leader, Robbie Vrabel Jr. from St. Clair College. Really strong performance from that car and that driver. And will Jared Kaler have anything to say about that position? The UNC Charlotte machine in P2, maybe on an alternate strategy, having lost a teammate there on pit road. Santi Perez just getting locked up a little bit down on that Texas Motor Speedway pit lane. But guys, I cannot speak enough about third place. Matthew Nordberg going to be one of the stories of this evening. Tire strategy bringing that machine all the way up to third, and being able to race, bring the Wolfpack up front there, and doing an absolute drive through the field with several power moves that we covered earlier in the run. Fourth place is going to be your Sean Campbell, who opts to go 3 wide, not to be stopped there. And looks like you can see actually Christian Gomez, so P4 and P5. The race is on, and P6 you see there down Kenneth Talbot. So in your screen, and a little bit close there, Nick Stockner in that 5 car trying to hang onto it. Clemson University looking good. And as we run through the field, a little bit of jostling for position. So that is your 65 machine, 5th place, 55 machine in 6th place.
I don't think we're going to see any more pit stops from here on out unless there's a caution. And I don't see a caution happening. We've been green since lap 20-something, and it's lap 80. These guys can make it on tires. They're not going to need another pit stop. We're not going to see any pit stops until a checkered flag. Oh my goodness. A yellow flag comes out, and we could probably see that happening towards these closing laps, maybe 5 or 3 laps to go, as some of these drivers that are very close, Sean Campbell, Kenneth Talbot, Christian Gomez, those guys are staying in a nice little pack. We also, further down the field, we have Colin Copa and Derek Jennings close together. Those 2 drivers, maybe we'll see a little bit of close contact, bumping racing, rubbing racing, and maybe a caution will come out late. If not, that's the race, guys.
That is, and a little bit of a block there by the 7 machine, Hagen Johnson. For note, the 18 of Santi Perez that you saw on your screen was racing the 65 machine from the position of 21st, so down a lap after the events on pit road. As you see, the 22 of Austin DeLong, and actually 18 sliding into his box on pit road. We follow along now with 28, that is going to be Buena Vista University's Joshua Teagues. But back to the front, you can see Robbie Vrabel on your screen. And Michael, you said it, a number of good battles up and down this field as we get in 18 laps to go. I think you're right. The deck is set, and we will now have the battles that the tires strategy has set us up for. So the question is, can Jared Kaler get up to catch Robbie Vrabel? And I'm not sure he can. That gap has been about a second, plus or minus, for a number of laps, maybe even like 10 laps now. So I'm not sure if Jared Kaler is in a position to strike, and I'm not sure as Purdue tries to go 3 wide amongst themselves there, everybody gets it sorted out. Just not sure if Matthew Nordberg has the equipment to put the Wolfpack in 2nd position right now.
This is quite interesting, guys. It's Robbie Vrabel Jr. trying to weave in and out of this lap traffic, who's on a little better tires than he is, and we're able to see how Jared Kaler is able to weave. But look at that, Matthew Nordberg. As these guys are getting stuck dealing with lap traffic, Nordberg has made his way all the way up, and he's got a little bit of a push from the 013 of Grant Lemcool. But you see it, 1 car separating your leader, Robbie Vrabel Jr. and Jared Kaler. This is the battle for the lead. And here comes Matt Nordberg from the NC State Wolfpack. Josh?
Wolfpack wasting no time going to announce his presence, as he's done all night long. Down on that bottom side, I don't know if it's the line we would have chosen, and the 58 is going to have a pretty good run. Again, these tires a little bit worn, neck and neck off the corner, though. An opportunity lap car in the way. That's going to be tough for the 58, though, down to the bottom. Now it's going to be tough for the 76, and these drivers going to have to negotiate just enough room, given Jared Kaler knowing his competition, Matthew Nordberg making use of that VR, and I would pay a lot of money for Grant Lemcool's seat right now in that 013. You're on board, getting it for free, going down into the corner. This is that wide turn 1, and guys, it's so easy to get on the gas. get on the gas too quickly. But back off the corner, 3 wide, trying to make it work, and not waiting at all. Jared Kaler, guys, he had to. He was going to lose the position, getting back by, and Grant Lempool going to follow again. That is the 81 machine of Robert Morris University, Alexander Gagnon, just trying to escape right there. And the pass completed for now. Still 13 laps to go, a lot of time left, but the Wolfpack going to be to P2, and this is a battle that we will follow to the conclusion. But right now, Matthew Nordberg, Jarrett putting on a great fight with, you see that UNC Charlotte machine in your rear view.
And you know who loves to see that? Robbie Vrabel Jr. The gap now up to 2 seconds. He's almost doubled the gap while these guys were battling. So as long as Nordberg and Kaler stay nose to tail, they'll be able to catch up Robbie Vrabel Jr. But if they go side by side again, it's going to be tough to catch the St. Clair College driver, who is just absolutely laying down some great laps here tonight on those old tires. Pitted way back on lap 54. Matthew Nordberg on lap 62. Jared Kaler on lap 56. So that's the tire differential between your top 3. Josh?
A pretty big disparity, just 6 laps between those tires, but we've seen that it makes a difference. And straight away, Jared, I'm not sure that Jared Kaler has the fight to take back to the 76 machine. Now, we do know that there is time for these tires to stabilize, and you can see Kaler, maybe he's just letting those tires cool off a bit. He's got 11 laps. It's a big mile-and-a-half track. He doesn't need to go right back, but these two drivers have decided the state of North Carolina is not big enough for the 2 of them, and only one of them can bring home that second-place trophy. You mentioned it, Robbie Vrabel Jr. out to the lead right now. That gap stabilizing about 2 seconds, but these drivers have come to race on your screen.
Josh talking about tire strategy and older tires versus new tires. Sean Campbell, boss music playing in the background in Jared Kaler's rear view mirror, almost 10 lap newer tires. We might see another position loss for Jared Kaler.
That could be. We know excellent on tires and using just about every bit of that track. The 30 machine, Randolph College. Guys, I think player 3 is beginning to enter the chat. And yeah, certainly out of turn 4, it's going to be, again, an eye in the mirror and an eye out the windshield for Jared Kaler. North Carolina at Charlotte, not how they wanted to begin this season. Down a man right now, but you can see these 3 cars evenly spread out as your leader continues to take through 9 laps to go. Lap cars staying high, out of the way, communication going on all over on this track. But guys, Sean Campbell wants the positions he sees out his windshield.
And I tell you what, big moment right there. Athena Leclerc able to just get out of the way, and she might just, not necessarily block, but just maybe make it a little harder for these 3 drivers to sneak on by and protect Robbie Vrabel Jr. up in the lead. But Sean Campbell trying to make a move around the 58 of Jared Kaler. Can't do it just yet, but boy, does Sean Campbell look fast into turn 1 there. Josh?
Sean Campbell looks fast into turn 1. We wondered if Jared Kaler was waiting on Matt Nordberg, and I think he was. He's right there. He is on attack. Sean Campbell is on attack. These 3 drivers are racing, and the Wolfpack is going for maximum defense. As a car is around, no caution yet. We stay green here at the front. Position 2 is under fire. Jarrett?
Position 2 is under fire indeed. Nordberg continuing to go all the way to the bottom. Campbell exploring that middle groove, trying to get a good run off, and it looks like he just might do it. Jared Kaler up on the top side, and we'll see if he can pin down Sean Campbell, who gets a great run out of turn 2. He'll have the position in the 3 slide up in front, and Jared Kaler drops back to 4th. Sean Campbell, great move right there, as he's going to try and attack Matthew Nordberg. Now through the tri-oval they go. You saw Vrabel Jr. in the foreground battling through those lapped cars, so a lot of ground to make up for Nordberg and company. We'll see if they can do it, but he's got to hold off Sean Campbell. Jared Kaler looking on. It looks like Kaler's tires just giving up on him a little bit. Campbell to the inside. He's got the quarter panel on Nordberg as they drag race down the back straightaway.
Having saved his tires just as well, that 30 machine trying to stick on the inside. Can he do the same thing in 3 and 4? Matthew Nordberg going to hang tough on the outside just long enough. 5 laps to go, this time 5. But guys, I'm beginning to think that the 30 machine and Sean Campbell have the advantage on the inside with those tires. Not quite as fresh, but not too old there per the 76 machine. It looks like he's going to complete pretty handily that move. And your running order down the backstretch is Sean Campbell, Matthew Nordberg, and Jared Kaler as you go down into turns 3 and 4. Michael?
guys, I don't think this race is over yet because there's a lot of lap traffic coming up, and that made the difference in the battle between Nordberg v. Kaler. And so we'll see if these guys jump out of the way, or if you said earlier, if someone maybe gets a little bit of a cheeky block in there, slows down Campbell to help out Matthew Nordberg. We'll see. But this race is far from over right now.
The race is far from over. Your Robbie Vrabel Jr. being your alumni leader, but Sean Campbell, Matthew Nordberg, Jared Kaler trying to win their race. These drivers look like Sean Campbell out to front. We've seen it, Michael, on the roadside. Will he do the same thing on the oval side, automatically getting out, putting a few car lengths in between, and about 4/10. That's the biggest gap those cars have had in the last 20 laps. 4/10 between Sean Campbell and Matthew Nordberg in that Wolfpack machine. In fact, you can see there the gap, and those two drivers, the Wolfpack and the 49ers, not yet done. They'll come to the green flag, 2 laps to go. When they get to the line, you see it there on your ticker. Sean Campbell out to a draft, out behind some lap traffic, but Matthew Nordberg, Jarrett, is trying to maintain his spot, just a car length over car behind.
Michael, you said it. This race is not over. Sean Campbell trying to dipsy doodle. Down to the bottom goes Jared Kaler. They're going to go all the way to the bottom white line. They'll go door to door in turn 3. Good move from Kaler. He is not done yet. What a move on the back straightaway. We'll have to take another look at that once this is said and done. The InnoVetted Labs white flag in the air from Barney the Flagman. They'll go side by side at the line, heading down to turns 1 and 2. Kenneth Talbot going to stick his nose in there. The 55 machine is seemingly out of nowhere. They're going to be 1, 2, 3 down the back straightaway. Josh?
He's going to want a piece of this. It is Robbie Vrabel Jr., then Sean Campbell, but this is going to be your battle for second. These drivers want the action. You can see Jared Kaler up front with a corner to go. Going to be really hard for the Wolfpack to pull this off. As you see your run order, there it is. Jared Kaler and UNC Charlotte, North Carolina State, and the University of Alabama at Huntsville, all following Randolph College and St. Clair College, winning your alumni, and Campbell for Randolph College winning your student division. Guys, that was a race here in the Lone Star State.
I think we all got to catch our breath after that one. What a finish, and what a move there at the end by Jared Kaler there. We got to go take another peek at that one after this one's said and done. But Robbie Vrabel Jr., what a race, and just very consistent all night long. Great run for St. Clair College here tonight. Michael?
17th to 2nd from Sean Campbell. I'm sure fans of the Road Series are no stranger to him. We saw a little bit of bad luck from him last season in the Oval Series, but Sean Campbell is back on form as we see Robbie Vrabel Jr. absolutely enjoying this win, and he deserves it.
Yeah, and I will also say I'll see your increase and raise you Kenneth Talbot again from Huntsville at Alabama. That will most likely be your most spots gained, as you see Robbie Vrabel Jr. looking like he's about to pick up the virtual InnoVetted checkered flag. But yeah, 30 to P5. That's the top 5 for Alabama at Huntsville. And actually, Kenneth Talbot bringing home points ahead of his Huntsville at Alabama teammate. And so these drivers with an awesome display of talent, patience, and also, guys, we have seen a lot of strategy with the tires and pits and sequencing, the way these drivers played their hand very well.
So Robbie Vrabel Jr. going to come away your winner. Sean Campbell in second. Jared Kaler in third. And as we try to get them up here in the booth, let's take another look at that final pass that Jared Kaler pulled off of Matthew Nordberg on that final lap. You see Kaler deep into turn 1 and just put it right on that yellow line, stuck Nordberg back behind him, and Nordberg had nothing left for that 58 machine. Great move from Jared Kaler. The door was just slightly open, and he stuck his foot in and got it there. What a move here tonight there at the end of the race. Josh?
You said it, Nordberg, nothing left. I don't know if any of those drivers in the top 5 had anything left. Everybody being able to leave it all on the track and do an absolutely phenomenal job. The racecraft, something that we have come to enjoy from these drivers. They're at the top of their game and showing very well for their universities, for their teams.
Yeah, boy, what a fun run that was. And I'm sure it was very fun for Robbie Vrabel Jr., who joins us up here in the booth now. And Robbie, what a great race that was to watch for St. Clair College. Take us through your thoughts there in the final laps, especially when you saw Jared Kaler and Matthew Norbert closing in a little bit and then going to battle back behind you.
Man, I'll tell you what. I was hoping that they would get side by side and hold each other up. I'm not sure. I know they both had fresher tires than I did. I'm pretty sure Matt had fresher than Jared. I was just trying to get through turn one as best I could. Honestly, the dirty air, the tires, everything. It was all about just being consistent, hitting the same line, hitting the marks over and over and over. And yeah, with about 15 to go, I was praying that this race would have been cut by 15 laps. I thought they were going to get there. I'm happy they got to battling, and I was able to squeak it out because the lap cars were great. No complaints with them. It's just the dirty air, man. Every time I catch them one or three, I would lose the nose, and I was doing everything I could to back the corner up more than what I had been, and just putting it on that white line, and thankfully it paid off.
So congrats on the win. That was an awesome display. Walk us through, and we might ask everybody this question: what was the winning strategy, and would you change the way that you used your tire sets any differently over that last 100 laps?
Uh, I don't know if there was a strategy in mind, really. I knew I got to the window of when I knew I could make it to the end on fuel, and I was just trying to wait out Santiago and Jared. They were gone up the road. I felt really good on that first run. Had some stream issues the first 20 laps, so I was kind of glad to see the caution come out. Once I turned that off and my frames went back to normal, I felt like I could race them. The old tires, even on the first run, I got to racing a couple guys and I lost them, but towards the end of that, I started to run Jared back down. So at that point, I was like, you know what? If I pit early, I feel like I have a good enough chance to at least hold Jared off. I wasn't sure about Santiago. I don't know what happened to him getting on pit road, but with him out of the picture, I was I was just trying to race those two guys. I don't really have a strategy for you. I guess I could say do what Santiago does. Santiago's very good. It's no secret. I've raced against him for a long time on here, whether it be in the Road to Pro series or some of the higher NIS A Open races. Great guy, a lot of respect for him. That's why I was really excited to see him in the CIL league. I knew it would be a lot of fun. Just happy that for the first time I got the better end of him today. I still can't beat him for a pole, but I was finally able to break through and get one today.
Good stuff. Yeah, what happened there and on his pit stop, Santiago, he overcooked his pit entry a little bit of bad luck there. Got a speeding penalty to boot. So that's what happened there. So you talked about, noticing that he's not a horse in the race anymore. You're battling the other two. How do you keep yourself collected during all this? What are you thinking about?
I think a lot of experience, to be honest with you. I wasn't nervous. I was just clicking off laps. Like I said, I was just trying to hit my line over and over and make sure that I don't overdrive the corner. The dirty air, I don't race these cars a whole lot. I do a lot more testing than racing, and the dirty air was big. There was a few times going into it wasn't as bad into 3, but going into 1, whenever I would catch a slower car or somebody that was on fresher tires that was going around to get their lap back, just entering in behind them, I would try to roll out a little bit sooner, and I would still push up or I would miss the line. So really, it just a little bit of lack of experience, but a lot of experience to close it out. I feel like. The only thing I wish I could do different was just put it on the white line a little bit more. My tire wear at the end of that race was phenomenal. Not much I would change there. Just doing what I could to hang on and be as smooth as humanly possible to close it out.
Well, it's definitely fun to watch up here in the booth, so I imagine it was pretty fun behind the wheel there as well. Well, Robbie Vrabel Jr., a winner here in the CIL. Who do you want to give a shout out before you head to the InnoVetted Labs victory lane?
To be honest with you, there's a lot of people I got to thank. Unfortunately, this is the only race that I'm going to be able to do for this season. The Coke schedule overlaps with this, and I'm going to be spotting for Zach Novak. So unfortunately, the next few races for the season, I won't make it. So you guys, first and foremost, for doing this and doing these broadcasts. They're a lot of fun to go back and watch. I've enjoyed them. I did feel bad for you guys in the last season with all the cautions, but you guys still found a way to make it entertaining and enjoyable to watch. So you guys, thank you so much for doing the broadcast. Everybody at St. Clair College for getting me into this. Nick Malash, Dan Banners, those are the guys that really run the scenes behind the show. I know they do some racing as well, but they're the ones who organize all of this. And without them, I don't think I would have ever known about this league or found out about it. So thanks to them. And then everybody at Lockdown Racing, Anthony Alfredo, everybody, all of our partners that are involved on that side of things that make everything happen. Big thanks to them. They're the reason why I'm still on iRacing. So it's been a lot of fun. I would love to come back and do this again. I thought the racing tonight was phenomenal. Certainly something that I look forward to doing. Maybe if we can down the road, if the schedules align properly and it doesn't overlap with Coke, I would love very much to come back. And then everybody that does these races with us tonight was awesome. It was a lot of fun, and sucks that I'm going to be missing out on it, but I'll be back for sure.
Well, always great to hear, and I'm sure all your supporters are going to be super thrilled to go party with you in the InnoVetted Labs victory lane here. So, Robbie,
damn right.
Congrats again, and go enjoy it here tonight.
Thank you so much, guys. You guys have a great night.
So that was Robbie Vrabel Jr., your winner here tonight. It's so cool to just hear the excitement in his voice and how he's been so close so many times then to come here tonight at Texas and pull that off. Really, really special moment for him, Josh.
Well, it's fantastic. I mean, you heard him. He's been he's heavily invested and been racing and perfecting his craft around here. You said with his competitors, and to finally bring one home. I think any athlete can relate to the success, right? You put in and finally out pops the W. So yeah, it's awesome to be a part. Jared, I think we had the best seat up here, being able to call it, Jared and Michael. And absolutely can't wait. Yeah, that was fantastic.
And tell you who else had a good seat, Sean Campbell joining us up here in the booth now, our second place finisher here tonight, first overall finisher. And Sean, you had quite the battle with Jared Kaler and Matthew Norberg there at the end. And take us through your pit strategy, because we really saw that pay off, that your new tires just were able to make it work. So talk us through what goes into that pit strategy. Did you think there was going to be another yellow, or were you banking on it going green the entire way?
I think no matter what we would have done, we were definitely banking for it to go green for a long time, but I was happy it went to the end, because the tires ended up staying alive to the very end. I think that strategy was a repeat of what happened at Michigan, except this time a caution did not come out, which I'm very happy about, because me, Thomas, and Derek hooked up on the second restart and started to just go through the field with each other.
Yep.
Yeah,
moving.
it's go ahead.
Lap 64 coming in, Sean Campbell, and you moved your way up the field, and at a certain point, the lap times kind of leveled with the leaders. What are you thinking at that point? Are you still pushing, or are you trying to keep your fronts a little bit cooler to not wear out?
I was saving my tires for just about the whole stint until about lap 80. Once we crossed the 31-second mark, I had to start going, but I didn't do it early enough, because good job to Robbie. He held that gap right to the very end.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Congrats on the race and finishing position. And what are the secrets to keeping tires around? Did you save much more tires than your final two competitors, or was it all in the driver's skill in that last 5 lap set?
Steering ratio 10. Nah, steering ratio doesn't really matter. I wish. I wish I had a reason to run it. I don't bother with the steering ratio. It's just about being as smooth as you can be, not having to turn too much, not turning not enough, so then you have to turn too much at the end. It's just about being as smooth as possible. and potentially at the start, when you have fresh tires, potentially give up some pace so that it'll come back at the end and you'll still have tires.
Well, looks like it ended up working out for you here tonight. That was a good run, especially watching you there at the end to just weave through the field like that. So Sean Campbell, second place here on the oval side. And we're used to talking to you on the road side, but anyone you want to give a shout out to here on the other Tuesday night?
I guess Eric, Michael, and Max as usual for introducing CIL and creating Neon Racing. It's a shame. It's not a shame, but we don't really do races with it anymore, but we do plan on doing some. But I guess that's it.
We're doing it, Sean. Don't worry.
Hooray.
You heard it here first, folks. Well, Sean, always great talking to you, and I'm sure we're going to talk to you again soon.
All right. See ya.
So Sean Campbell joining us up in the booth. And like we said, we're always used to talking to him on the road side, but definitely not the oval side. And it was really fun to watch him use that racecraft. A little bit different. We always talk about that racers are racers and they'll make it work. And I think Sean Campbell really proved it here tonight. Michael?
Sean Campbell absolutely proved a wealth of worth, if that works, in this league. Just bringing his experience from the roadside and applying it to oval in just an outstanding way.
Could not agree more. And joining us for another interview here tonight is the 58 machine, that UNC Charlotte machine, who I think at one point we might have wrote off for fourth position, but Jared Kaler made sure to come talk to us here tonight with a good move on that InnoVetted White Flags lap. Jared, take us through that final lap from your perspective.
Oh man, it really started with about 2 to go. Matthew didn't really get a good run off too, and I went down the inside of him going down the backstretch, and he blocked me all the way down to the line, and he ran me tight, but he ran me clean through 3 and 4, and then we're side by side going through the start finish line and into the white flag lap, and then I just sent it down into turn 1 and hope it stuck, and checked up. Once I got clear of him, I kind of backed up the center to make sure I could get it rotated off of 2. Unfortunately, that's what happened.
Yeah, and we had heard about the tightness of these cars from the drivers actually in practice and a little bit throughout this race and weekend. So tell us, how did you overcome that condition, and how did you conserve the grip in your tires over the length of the runs? Especially, I think at one point you had some of the oldest tires on the track. So how did you bring that home to such a finishing position?
Oh man, that would be giving away my secrets if I told you that. But but really, it's all about turning down the brake bias and kind of dragging the brake through 1 and 2, and then waiting to get on the gas until you kind of like have the car pointed. 3 and 4 wasn't that bad, honestly, but it was really bad through 1 and 2. Like I said, just kind of backing up the turn, dragging the brake, letting the car get rotated, and then applying the gas smoothly. And that's really how I conserved that right front tire for so long.
Well, it's clear to see you have a lot of experience with this kind of thing. And another experience you had tonight was dealing with a little bit of lap traffic and the battle with Matthew Nordberg. Tell us what's going through your mind in those moments when you're side by side with him and you've got some lap cars coming up.
You're just hoping they don't choose your lane that you're in. With the dirty air of these cars, you can kind of get in a bad spot if you get the dirty air in the wrong spot. And I think that's kind of what happened a little bit the first time that Matthew, I don't know why I keep saying Ryan, first time Matthew kept coming back at me. But fortunately I was able to get behind him and conserve my tires a little bit. And then Sean came through, and I think the tires kind of cooled down a little bit. And I was able to make another charge at Matthew.
And made an outstanding pass to boot. Any final things, shout outs before you are on your way?
Want to give a shout out to InnoVetted Labs for sponsoring the series, and you guys for putting it on. I'm really happy to be back and get the season going, and gotta also give a huge shout out to everyone in the race for keeping it clean. It was really nice having those long green flag laps through the whole race.
Yeah, definitely a lot of fun to watch up here in the booth. So Jared Kaler, thanks again for joining us, and thanks for that battle coming away P3 here tonight. Go enjoy it.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
So Jared Kaler right there. And I think we heard a little bit of excitement in his voice as he was signing off there. And you definitely heard it. He was speaking from the heart. He knew he made a good move, and he wanted to come tell us about it. And joining us in the booth now is the guy he made the move on, Matthew Nordberg from NC State. And Matt, it was a great battle. We saw tire strategy pay off not once for you, but twice almost. Watching you charge through the field, talk us through what that was like, having fresh tires and just carving up the field.
Yeah, honestly, it was a little bit scary at first, just carving through a bunch of the cars who were definitely a lot slower. And you never knew what they were going to do. Were they going to come down low or go high? So you had to just predict what they were going to do and try to squeeze yourself into spaces off that. And it definitely bit me a couple times. There was one time I just got into the rear of somebody coming out of turn 4, but I mean, other than that, it was just a blast. Carving through the field like that always makes you feel like you're the fastest guy out there, even though you're on new tires compared to everyone else. But it's really enjoyable just to carve through the field like that.
Well, new tires are certainly the best in the business, but we mentioned a couple times, beginning, middle, and end, where the Wolfpack, man, you had that thing power moving, and I think you touched on it a little bit, just carving up through the field. But walk us through maybe the calculated risks, because we've seen that a couple times, and it hasn't worked out depending on situation and context and cars. But you had a master craft. What comes into mind when you are going through the pack like that, and you know that that's your time to make up your positions? And it worked very well tonight. And we walked through a pretty easy masterclass clinic than our broadcast on how to move up the field with tire strategy. So how do you calculate that and move through that over maybe a little bit of a longer race like this?
I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is just you hope that there isn't a caution that comes out, because if that run gets just 10 laps in instead of like the rest of the race like it did really, I mean, then your tire strategy is all messed up for the rest of the night. But you know, the first 20 laps were pretty clean, and I thought my pace was pretty good. And I thought, a lot of the guys behind me have really great race pace. I had a great qualifying position, great qualifying lap. So I just thought, if I'm going to put myself in the best position for later in the race rather than now, I want to get tires early and just hope that that caution doesn't come. And it never did. So really glad that I took that choice. And then I guess the second thing you got to really think about is just making sure that you time your pit stops correctly. Maybe I could have pitted a couple laps earlier during that green flag run, maybe made up, maybe by the end of the race, be ahead of Jared instead of behind him. But I mean, that's hindsight's 2020, so it's pretty difficult to predict those things. But I think all in all, I think it was a pretty good strategy from my end.
Well, taking all this strategy into account, it seems like you've got it figured out. What does this bode for you going into future races with these long green flag runs?
I think Texas is probably one of the more tricky intermediate tracks. So I think if we were going to have any caution fets, it's definitely this one, because I think we have we have Las Vegas and I think Kentucky on the schedule as well, if I'm not mistaken. So those are other intermediate tracks. So I think knowing how clean we ran at Texas, maybe in the future I can get a little bit riskier on those early pit stops to try to get a leg up on the rest of the field. But I know our next race is at North Wilkesboro, so I don't know how much strategy is going to come into play there. Might be a bit of a wreck fest considering how small that track is. But yeah, definitely for like future intermediates and up, maybe the not super speedways, but maybe for the things like Indianapolis Auto Club. I know we're going to Auto Club later in the year, so maybe tracks like that, as well as the intermediates, you can think more aggressive with the strategy, knowing it's not going to be a wreck fest, and these guys race pretty clean.
Definitely. Well, it was a fun one from up here, and congrats again on a fourth place finish. You had to work for it here tonight. So,
Yeah.
Matthew Nordberg, who do you want to give a shout out to for this one?
I'd just like to thank everybody watching. If I know you and you're watching, hello. I don't know if any of my friends or family are watching right now, but if you are, hi. The camera's over here, but hi. But yeah, great race, and thanks for putting on a good show for us.
All right. Well, always great talking to you, and I'm sure we're going to talk to you again soon.
Yep, thanks for having me.
So Matthew Nordberg coming away fourth, and a happy fourth right there for Matthew. But that NC State Wolfpack machine looked very strong all night long, and boy, was that a fun one. Josh,
Well, I think you said it, Jared. I concur. We had a little bit of tire strategy. We had these drivers able to work through and really handle their own decision making and patience, keeping their equipment intact. And so you can see there your innovetted.com final grid to run down Robbie Vrabel Jr., Sean Campbell and Randolph, Jared Kaler from UNC Charlotte, Matt Norberg from NC State, Kenneth Talbot from Alabama at Huntsville, Thomas Toomey from Virginia, Christian Gomez from FIU bringing in seventh position, Andrew Williams from Clemson, Derek Jennings from Grand Canyon University, and your top 10th finisher will be Ricky Paz from Valparaiso University, putting that crew in a good looking top 10 position.
In 11th place, Carl Lemkool from St. Louis University, one of our onboard drivers. 12th, Jeff Pete from Minnesota Twin Cities. 13th, Colin Culpa from Indiana. 14th, Hagen Johnson from Clemson University. 15th, Santiago Tires with that mistake under the pit, the green flag pit stop. Unfortunate from UNC Charlotte. 16th, Alexander Gagnon from Robert Morris University. 17th, Nicholas Stockner from Clemson University. 18th, Austin DeLong from Penn College of Technology. 19th, Jeremy Millerin from Purdue. And Andrew McCall, also from Purdue, coming in 20th.
Ryan Whitlock from Alabama at Huntsville comes away 21st. Esteban Munoz from FIU finishing in 22nd. Athena Leclerc finishes in 23rd after a tough break in the tri-oval there, unable to come back from that. 24th is going to be Joshua Tiggs from Buena Vista University. Grant J. Lemkool from St. Louis University in 25th. Bradley Daniels from Robert Morris University finishing 26th. Matthew Tucker from Jacksonville State in 27th. Tristan Yoder, another Robert Morris University driver, finishing 4 laps down in 28th. And Ryan Fenty and Ryan Lusich makes up your field. A couple of bad breaks for them getting involved in that wreck early. Josh?
I think that sums it up. Yeah, decision making remains critical. The difference tonight being a lot of smart decisions and good decisions from drivers that I think made it most enjoyable for our interviewees as well as the fans watching at home. So, boy, I am pleased to say I'm quite excited for 2 weeks from now. In fact, I'm excited, Jarrett, for 1 week from now.
Yeah, 1 week from now, we're going to head out back on the road side of things as we head to Sebring, a World War II air base located in the United States of America. So that's always a fun track to go to and a bumpy track to go to. Kind of a tough track to get right, so to speak. We heard Santi Therese planning to be there as well, and he said the track is tough. So don't expect to tune in next week and see Santi dominate and maybe have another mistake on pit road. Not going to happen. I'm sure we're going to see Santi figure it out, though. And Sean Campbell, expect to see him up there at the top again. Michael?
Yeah, if viewers remember 2 seasons ago in season 2, whenever we went to Sebring at night, we had a 3-car battle for the lead that went down to the final corner at Sebring. So I'm excited to see Sean, Santiago, other big names go after it at Sebring. It's going to be really interesting, and it's going to be bumpy.
Yeah, so as we wrap this one on up from here at Texas, I'll turn it over, Josh, to you first. And I think I want to ask, who was your biggest surprise here tonight?
I'll tell you straight away my biggest surprise, and I am tempted to run through our first 4 finishers as any one of them could qualify. But I tell you what, Ryan Whitlock has been putting in most of the work and shouldering most of the workload for that Alabama at Huntsville team. But tonight it was Kenneth Talbot in that 55 machine. We called his name all night. And I've got to say, didn't have it on my bingo card, but I am glad that it happened and was a very strong performance. And you heard it. These intermediate tracks, we're going to see him again. And so I would put now the 55 on my radar to see. I think that is going to be a solid. I don't know if I can say addition because he's been registered and has been supporting, but we'll say a big improvement and strong spot for the University of Alabama at Huntsville team and Charger Motorsports. We know that program invests in their esports crew and the drivers that you see week in and week out operating under that banner. So I think that's what I did not expect tonight, guys.
Yeah, that's a
Yep.
pretty good one right there. And Michael, I'll turn it over to you next. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to Ricky Paz, finishing a top 10 here tonight. He had to race his way in last night, finishing in the top 16 on the prospect end of things. And then had a very good race, kind of quietly making his way up through. We saw him put the door on a couple drivers at times and really raced it pretty clean, gave room, and stayed out of trouble all night long. So the Valparaiso Esports program smiling kindly at Ricky here tonight. Michael?
Yeah, and I guess if we want to mention our last big, I keep saying gainer, but we're not doing backward flips forward. Our biggest charger, thank you. Yes, our biggest charger up the field, Thomas Toomey and Kevin Talbot. Thomas Toomey also making a going through the pack, working with the tire strategy, making his way up, not getting in any trouble, finishing up in the top 6. Very impressive. And honestly, compared to last season, the surprise was the big green flag runs. That was a very pleasant surprise. It was awesome.
Indeed, it was. So if you guys enjoyed this one as much as we did, be sure to tune in 2 weeks' time as we head to North Wilkesboro for Throwback Night here in the CIL. I'm sure we're going to get a bunch of very good throwback college paint schemes. And if you want more, you can't wait that 2 weeks' time. Head back in 7 days, same time, same place, and we'll be out at the Straits of Sebring. And we'll be sure to bring that one to you 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for one last time for all of us up in the booth, Michael, Josh, and myself, thank you all for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you all again soon. Good night, everybody.